Well, just look at what the Champions League quarterfinals have drawn up for us. It is a mouth-watering encounter across the board as the Champions League reaches the final 8 stage. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yesterday's video going to centre around the big Champions League draw that took place earlier on today, as the Champions League has cut itself down to just 8 teams left in the competition. The quarter-final draw and semi-final draws were made, and it has thrown up some exciting encounters and, of course, some very exciting potentials for matchups later on down the line. We're going to be talking about the Champions League and about the draw itself and everything else in between. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. And also get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That might be a great and interesting reading, I'm sure, down below. So please, yeah, do get involved. Would love to hear from you all on this or on this subject. Everything else, everything is always greatly appreciated. But without further ado, let's get on with it. Let's get on with the draws. Why we're all here to talk football, to talk the Champions League draw, and it is massively, majorly exciting right the way across the board. You've got PSG taking on Barcelona. It won't be probably as exciting as the time several years ago where Barcelona made that absolutely heroic and legendary comeback against the French champions several years ago. Neymar was then, of course, of Barcelona. Lionel Messi was a fellow teammate of his. Luis Suarez, I think, was there as well, I believe, or it could have been the year before. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But either way, it was a fantastic night what Barcelona had in the second leg of their encounter, and they are going to be facing each other yet again. This one, very difficult to call. PSG, they need to show something in this competition. They need to show a mental block. And let's face it, who better to beat Barcelona than a former Barcelona manager and Luis Enrique? Could that potentially twist the tie for PSG? You've of course got Mbappe in tow. He'll want to be trying to potentially leave PSG in the best possible way by leaving them with a Champions League trophy, not to just to his name, but to their name as well. But you are expecting probably PSG to collapse and implode at any moment, and this could potentially be the tie. Having said that, Barcelona don't really have a great deal of stability right now. There's not a great deal, I would say, that is seemingly suggesting that they are strong contenders for this competition. We know that they've got the European heritage to their name, but they're not the team that they were several years ago. As well, as much as this is an interesting and exciting and intriguing encounter, it's one that really could be 50-50 and up in the air, and really could come down to just the star quality of the team on the day. We know that obviously Barcelona have the likes of Lewandowski, and they always seem to churn out these kids of Spanish nationality that are young and absolutely talented to the brim, and are just a bit raw around the edges given their age and everything. But we know that they have got a very strong team in this kind of capacity, and we know that obviously PSG have their moments as well, and they've obviously been trying to change their approach to things under Luis Enrique, which is going to make for interesting viewing when obviously the crunch times hit. And if there is ever a crunch time as what there is right now, I am yet to see it. This is as crunch time as it gets for PSG into the final 8 of the competition, and with a major opportunity to get through to the final, because the winner of this game will take on the winner of the Atletico Madrid Borussia Dortmund game, which I would say is again another favourable tie for this half of the group. This half of proceedings has a very good opportunity, whether you are Dortmund, whether you are Barcelona, whether you're PSG, whether you're Atletico, to get to the final in this particular run-in. So I think it's majorly exciting for these teams, and something that I'm very much looking forward to seeing who's going to progress, because I think that this one will be the underdog side of things when you consider that the other 4 are probably the favourites and are probably going to be the biggest and most intriguing side of this in terms of big names and big players in this competition, two in particular, more so than the other two, but are potentially going to be at very big risk of not making it to the final. So it'll be very interesting. But as far as what PSG and Barcelona go, massive opportunity for them. I'm going to lean slightly more towards... You know what? I would be slightly leaning more towards Barcelona, and I think that's where my predictions go. But I've got a funny feeling about Luis Enrique and PSG this season, and the shock that they could produce going forward. So I'm going to say Barcelona because I think they have the overall team, but I think the star quality, star power, and obviously in terms of individual moments, shall we say, probably does rely with a certain Kylian Mbappe of PSG. And, you know, like I say, it's not a foregone conclusion. They very well could go on and win this competition. Or not win this competition, but win this game to advance in the competition, should I say. I don't know. I just think Barcelona will just about edge it overall across both legs. But yeah, don't consider PSG out just because of previous history, a bit of a mental block in this competition. I think Barcelona will progress though. But again, don't consider PSG out. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if PSG managed to get the advantage over Barcelona going into the second leg at the Camp Nou, and they somehow managed to pull off an incredible historic Champions League night for themselves, in which they managed to hold on to that advantage. So again, wouldn't be surprised, but I am going to edge towards Barcelona simply for the reason that I think they have the overall team rather than just solely the individuals. Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund is next upon our list, and this is going to be a fascinating game. I cannot wait for this one. This is going to be very intriguing. We know obviously the passion that Diego Simeone produced on the touchline when Atletico went through on that night, the emotions he went through, an absolute roller coaster that his team produced against Inter Milan to fight back in the way that they did. Borussia Dortmund sailed through pretty much in the second leg, all things considering, when they took on PSV, of course. And, you know, Dortmund have a very good chance of making it through to the finals this year. Have a very good chance of doing that. Atletico Madrid isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the one thing that does work for them is the fact that the first leg is away from home. If they can come out with a solid enough result in the first leg against Atletico, I think they can take it back to Dortmund in the second leg, and they can use the power of their fans, the home advantage, and everything else that goes along with that to their advantage. And I think that Dortmund get the job done if they navigate their way professionally and smartly through the first leg. If they lose it in the first leg, that's it. If they completely lose it in the first leg, that is it. Diego Simeone is going to absolutely stink the place out when he has to travel to Dortmund. So it could be it's going to be a very difficult game for both of these sides, but one that I think Dortmund could progress on. But it has to be done in a smart way. It has to be done in a correct way, and that correct way will obviously begin with the home leg being in Madrid for Atletico, and it's going to be a big game for both of these sides. So again, these two sides will fancy their chances of not just progressing in this game, but progressing in the game afterwards to make it through to the final. It's a massive game for both of these sides. I'm going to lean more towards Dortmund because I think they'll just have enough about them to maybe get the result in the home leg to take it back to to their ground. Like I say, it's going to be interesting. This one, it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of good players on display. There's a lot of interesting young talent as well on display in this one. A lot of fresh faces, as you normally would expect with Dortmund, especially. So it's going to be an interesting one. I cannot wait for this one. I really cannot wait for this one. It's thrown up a very intriguing clash, especially when you consider this is the quarterfinal stages, and of course when you consider that the winner of this one gets the other quarterfinal tie of PSG Barcelona. So that one is going to be very intriguing to say the least. On the other side of the draw, we've got Arsenal against Bayern Munich. And if you heard the noise, did you hear a noise when this draw was made? It was the sign. It was a sigh of Arsenal fans. It was Arsenal fans having PTSD, not only of Bayern Munich, where they have suffered so much in Champions League nights down the years, 10-2s alike, and 5-0 and 5-1 and whatever the hell it was, kind of batterings, whether it be at home or away at the Allianz Arena. But you also heard the sigh of another PTSD moment. A couple of players that have since left England and travelled to Germany, to Munich, in search of trophies that they may not win this season, which meant they could have stayed at Tottenham. Because what would have been the difference? Just saying. No. What you heard was the PTSD signal from Arsenal that Harry Kane is on the verge of returning. Eric Dyer too, but it's mainly Harry Kane, of course. That's the narrative we're going to be focusing on. Of course, this could be a massive opportunity for Arsenal to lay down a statement in this competition. They've been handed a pretty tough card to play. Not just in terms of Bayern Munich, who are not the same Bayern Munich as they were several years ago, but in terms of obviously being in this half of the draw, that also features two extremely tough opponents that await them in the semi-final, regardless of whichever way that other quarter-final is going to go. But it's going to be extremely tough for Arsenal. This Bayern Munich side are not the same Bayern Munich side of old. This Bayern Munich side are probably not going to slap Arsenal up about 5-0, 5-1, whatever the case may be, 10-2 on aggregate, whatever it was. This is not going to be the same Bayern Munich side that does that. I'd be very surprised. But it is a Bayern Munich side that is going to be heavily fueled with Harry freaking Kane. Obviously, a villain, an old foe, an old enemy of Arsenal from his time at Tottenham. Scored plenty of goals in North London derbies whenever those two teams met. This guy tormented Arsenal for years when those two teams played. And now he's back to pretty much end Arsenal's Champions League hopes. It's not going to be that easy. Arsenal are good. Very good. Excitingly good at times. They weren't exactly convincing against Porto, but credit to Porto for that. It's going to be tough. It is going to be extremely tough for both of these teams to get through this one. And, you know, it's Thomas Tuchel at the end of the day. Thomas Tuchel versus Mikel Arteta. So you know that Arteta's going to be looking to get on the front foot. Thomas Tuchel's going to be looking to try and counter. It's going to make for an interesting, contrasting game, in my opinion, and obviously a contrasting style and contrasting approaches of formations and things. It's going to make for an exciting game. I do feel like Arsenal need to make the most of their home advantage, being obviously in the first leg, because if they're going to be chasing the game at the Allianz, it could make for a dangerous atmosphere. It could make for a very hostile atmosphere that I'm not 100% sure those Arsenal players will be able to handle on a Champions League night, regardless of the form that Bayern Munich are in, regardless of the way that Thomas Tuchel plays his football, regardless of the way Bayern Munich have been all season. I'm not so sure Arsenal will get the job done if they don't make the most of their home advantage. If they make the most of their home advantage and they go in there with a 2-goal cushion into the second leg, I think they'll be able to have the mental strength to get the job done. But if it's a draw, if they're heading into that game a goal down, even a 1-goal win for Arsenal, I think might be a little bit dangerous. I think Arsenal can do it and they can get through to the semi-finals. It's going to be a tough ask though, but they need to make sure their home advantage is secure before they go to the Allianz. It's going to be extremely tough for them. It's going to make for an intriguing, exciting battle. It's going to be great to see Harry Kane obviously back to torment Arsenal in some ways. It's going to be great to see obviously the likes of Martin Odegaard light up another Champions League night, or at least the hope is from a somewhat neutral fan in this kind of scenario. But it's going to be a massive game. It's going to be a massive game. And, you know, if I am to bring a Premier League element into this as a Liverpool fan, I look forward to it, because it means that maybe Mikel Arteta will cast one eye on the Champions League when, of course, that game is coming up that same week, when obviously you'll probably have 2 Premier League games sandwiched either side of it. So, yeah. It's going to make for interesting viewing on all parts, whether you're rivals, neutrals, or obviously fans of either one of these 2 teams. I'm going to lean... it's a tough one. I'm going to lean more towards Bayern Munich for the Harry Kane element alone, and for the fact that the second leg is at home. I'm going to lean more towards Bayern, but I wouldn't entirely be shocked if Arsenal get the job done. A lot of people seemingly are going to be shocked when if Arsenal obviously win this game. I think Arsenal will fancy their chances. I think Arsenal definitely can get the job done. I just think they need to make sure their home advantage is well and truly established before they go to the Allianz the week or so after for the second leg. So, massive game for them too. And then, of course, you've got arguably the most mouth-watering encounter of this round. It is Real Madrid against Manchester City. Pep Guardiola faces a familiar enemy in Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid, of course. These 2 teams were the semi-final last campaign, and Man City absolutely wiped the floor with Real Madrid in this one. Absolutely wiped the floor with them. Will history repeat itself, or will Real Madrid exact revenge? Those are the questions we are going to be answering in this one. It's come a little early this time around, but what it does mean is that a big hitter and a big favourite of this competition for this campaign is going to be crashing out of the competition before we've even got down to the final 4. Exciting? Yes. Interesting? Absolutely. Mouth-watering? Definitely. We are going to see 2 massive teams battle it out in this one. Look, on a Champions League night in this kind of capacity, I'd be backing Man City. Because of the cutting edge they have up front. Haaland hasn't been exactly firing all cylinders recently, but I think in an atmosphere like this, I think in moments like these, I think he has to finally step up, right? We know that obviously he went missing a little. It didn't really matter because obviously City went on to win the competition, but he went a little missing himself in these kinds of games, in these kinds of big moments towards the end of this kind of Champions League campaign that they managed to put together last season. He has to step up, right? I know that Real Madrid have been solid for the majority of this season. I know that the likes of Jude Bellingham has been absolutely fantastic for them. I know that their midfield is just solid as ever. I know that overall they're just a solid enough squad to get by. But they are there for the taking. And assuming that obviously City are on form, they're firing on all cylinders, they're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and Guardiola doesn't overthink it or go too crazy on this, City should be winning this game. Like I say, and especially with the second leg again being at the Etihad, it's so crucial having that home advantage. First leg's at the Bernabeu. If you can scrape through at the Bernabeu, you've got the entirety of that advantage at home. And City can play it like they did last campaign, where they get through at home, they get through away, and then at home they just go for the neck and they don't let up until they are down. City can definitely do that again, and you know, we're all expecting City to go through this sort of really insane sort of shifting of the gears in which they are dominating and dispatching teams left, right and centre. It hasn't quite happened yet, but it very well could. And especially when you consider the Premier League title race as it is right now. City aren't the favourites. They are a point behind, but City aren't the favourites going into that title race. And of course, there is still a long way to go. There's also a massive game coming up after the international break with City against Arsenal. That could very well determine what happens there. And what you may start to see is maybe a shift from Pep Guardiola to maybe go, you know what? Maybe the Premier League title isn't on for us this season. We'll still go for it, but maybe we should really put more of our eggs in the Champions League basket than in the Premier League one. Of course, that's not what Pep's going to be completely doing, of course, but it would all depend on the scenario at play. when obviously things take off again in the run-in to the Premier League title. Massive game. Cannot wait for this one, especially given the fact that it's, in my opinion, with all due respect to the other 6 teams in it, it's going to be the biggest tie of this round of fixtures, the biggest match of the quarterfinal stages. I cannot wait for this one personally. I'm going to go for a Manchester City triumph, and they're going to make it through to the Final Four. But again, do not count Real Madrid out. You cannot, with the history that they've got, with the history in this competition solely that they have, the Champions League heritage and all of that stuff, all of them kind of cliches, and of course with the likes of Jude Bellingham in their ranks as well. You really, really, really cannot put it past them. The likes of Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and whoever else they've got. Like, they just keep on spinning out these quality names and quality players year in, year out. So, yeah. City to win, but do not count Real Madrid out. Not by a long shot. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on the Champions League quarter-final draw for this campaign. Guys, let me know what you guys think, feel, your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. Will make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure, down below in the comment section. So let me know all about what you think and feel about the Champions League draw and everything else in between. Hit the like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always very greatly appreciated. And of course, as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. I cannot wait for the Champions League to return again. This is going to make for exciting viewing. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night. I've been Fletch. There's been another Fletch Talks video. I don't remember. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night. And I'll speak to you all again very soon.